There's a story that has been fascinating and infuriating people in St. John's, and it's all about this. These super bright lights shining 24 hours a day in this historic and famous neighborhood called the Battery, and why the city hasn't been able to protect people who live here from living with this. Okay, the person who lives right across the street from these lights didn't want to go on camera, but they said we could take a look inside. Oh, wow. This is the foyer. Like, there are no lights on in here at all, but it is as bright as day. Oh, wow. Bright. Ooh. It's a living room window. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the outfield lights at a big baseball park. Of course, it's not a ballpark. This is a person's house.
How did we get here? Let's back up.
What's the problem here?
Well, the problem is we've had these incredibly bright lights in the outer Battery shining for the past 7 months.
Last summer, a new Battery resident, Colin Way, installed incredibly bright lights on some property he recently purchased.
They're interfering with people's sleep and our enjoyment of our property, and shining in everyone's windows, and it's really bad for our health because nobody can sleep, and it's just a terrible situation, and we need these lights turned off.
Neighbors pleaded with the city to order them turned off. But the city says it can't because of the outdated City of St. John's Act, the provincial legislation which gives the city its authority. Many sections date back to 1970, and there's nothing in here about how bright someone's lights can be.
We don't consider the light situation to be a public nuisance.
Turn off the lights! Turn off the lights! Turn off the lights!
The public disagreed. A petition got more than 6,000 signatures. A protest went down at City Hall.
The Battery has become the poster child for light nuisance in St. John's, but it's not about the Battery. I'm all over the city of St. John's. People are complaining about lights.
A new nuisance lighting bylaw was proposed at St. John's City Council.
Residents are at their wits' end because of light being used like a weapon with no consequences.
The province offered to amend the City of St. John's Act to squeeze in the new bylaw, but the mayor and other council members voted it down, pushing the province to update the entire act instead of doing a quick fix for a single issue.
So while the City of St. John's Act does a fantastic job of telling you where to park your horse, or the most efficient way to herd sheep down Water Street, we're a modern city. We have modern problems. This is a modern city problem.
Since then, the story has gotten national media attention, spawned scores of angry posts in social media, and inspired a flurry of local memes. Colin Way has been charged with mischief, and a young man was charged with trying to rip the lights down. But through it all, the lights have stayed on.
And the situation is escalating. Not only are the lights still there, but a new light has been erected on a newly purchased property, and again aimed at a neighbor's house. It hasn't been turned on yet, but there's deliberate provocation.
This is an extreme case, in more ways than one. But the issue of nuisance lighting and light pollution is much bigger than the Battery. And there are folks who are raising the alarm about it long before these lights were ever turned on.
My name is Jerry Ennis. I've been a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, St. John Centre, for in excess of 20 years now. And maybe 15 years ago, give or take, I became interested in the subject of light pollution.
Do you think regular people in urban environments realize just how much light pollution they're being exposed to all the time?
It's a form of pollution in a very real sense, but it's the effect is pretty insidious.
As our cities grow and grow brighter with LED technology, the darkness of night is fading in the places most of us call home. A recent study found this effect is speeding up, with the night sky now becoming as much as 10% brighter each year. The United Nations says that artificial light at night contributes to the death of millions of migratory birds each year. Many kinds of nocturnal animals are also affected.
We've taken to lighting up the night with pretty much a vengeance, really, to the point where we're causing harm to ourselves and the natural world around us.
Protecting people and wildlife from harm is why many cities have clear rules about light pollution. Some, like Vancouver, specifically prohibit shining a light into someone else's window or using light to disturb someone's peace and comfort. So if other cities do it, why can't St. John's?
My read of the statute is that St. John's is simply hamstrung.
I guess the big question for people in St. John's is why isn't the city stopping it?
Well, the legal answer is simple. The City of St. John's Act does not give the city the right to regulate light pollution the way other cities across Canada normally would. The statute is old. It still reflects the drafting of laws from the 60s and 70s with very long lists of very specific powers. Across Canada, these have been replaced by very short, very broad powers that allow municipalities the flexibility they need to address sort of emerging new issues and tailor responses to the local needs.
Okay, it's Friday afternoon. I'm editing this story, and there's breaking news in St. John's. The battery lights have just been turned off.
Well, they went off at about close to 9 o'clock last night, and we all sort of looked up at each other and went, what? We don't know why. We have no clue. They're just off.
A lawyer for Colin Way would say only that the lights had indeed been turned off and that he expected they would stay that way.
I mean, it's been a hard slog for the past 9 months living in the glare of those lights, and I know that it'll be a huge relief to the whole community.
So, is this the end of the story? Well, the lights are off, but there's still no regulations around light pollution that would prevent them from being turned back on, or prevent anyone else from doing the same thing. That kind of solution won't be as easy as flipping a switch.